This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
I will say someone very close to my heart, even though we really haven't known each other that long, but we're family. And so today we're keeping the show in the family. Gillian was it My Heritage or Ancestry that you found me on?
myheritage.com. Yeah.
And Gillian went on there and she found me and she followed through on it, which I think is wonderful. And I think of anyone in the family, we've got more in common than I do with anyone else.
Yes. It's always the way the soul gifts pass through the generations, right?
Oh, it does. Now, Gillian, you do, God, I was trying to think of the one thing to talk about with you, but you like me, you do so many things.
Yeah.
That it was hard to pick just one. Mm-hmm. But you do an awful lot with healing as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it's not, well, the mental emotional healing that affects the physical healing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So first of all, what got you interested in all of this stuff?
Oh gosh, that's a big question. So like yourself, I would say I'm very multifaceted. Mm-hmm. I'm an intuitive life coach and psychic energy healer. And I've trained in, maybe 11 different modalities over the last 11 plus years. Mm-hmm. I know it's my age. But I guess it all started so I had a lot of psychic gifts come online as a kid. I was extremely clairsentient. So that is clear feeling. So I was extremely empathic. I would feel energies of people, their intentions, physical items too. But obviously as a kid, you don't know what that is, right? And
you don't.
And my parents, had no idea. I was born in Scotland, raised, traditionally, mm-hmm. Any of this stuff was just kind of a foreign concept. So I remember as a kid, I would always go to, so your lineage is my dad's side, but I would always go to my mom's parents' house, and my gran had passed when I was 4, but my granddad had kept her room perfectly as is, so with her perfume bottles, and they were in the wars, they had a lot of artifacts. And I remember just going there and just holding stuff, or just sneaking up to their bedroom and just being in the energy, and just I didn't know what was happening at the time, but I would just be feeling all this stuff. And I used to love history, and I used to want to be an antique dealer, funnily enough, because I was picking up all this stories and seeing things and feeling things. And again, I just didn't know what that was. And then, as a kid, I would just always have this millisecond of feeling. It was usually at the bottom of my stairs. It was just, I can only explain it as I just knew there was something bigger than myself. And that's all I could explain at that time. And then, as things happen, I was an extremely sensitive kid. That ended up overwhelming me to the point where I was feeling all of everyone else's stuff, right? And that was very emotionally overwhelming for me. And, you go through your hardships and your scary times and your traumas. And I had a few of those happen over my childhood. So I just shut my gifts down, like so many of us do. We are all psychic kids.
Yeah.
But because of fear and because of all of these things, we are just not understanding, we close ourselves down. And that led me to quite a bit of a dark place, and probably the latter end of high school, where I fell into a bit of a depression, and some chronic illnesses as well. So I would have throat issues every year. I'd have stomach issues. I'd have back issues. I think I was the youngest person a chiropractor had ever seen with really bad back issues. But it was because I'd closed down my heart, you know, and if we allude everything to our energy centers, our chakras, they respond to different parts of our organs, our bodies. So yeah, it was, I didn't know at the time, but what I wasn't dealing with emotionally, because I had suppressed my emotions so much. I was a very shy kid as well, funnily enough, believe it or not. Who knew?
That's okay. So was I.
Came out of it, yeah, because we were so sensitive. You become uber sensitive that you close down. And also you don't want to say anything because you can feel the energy of people's words and people's intentions. So it makes you just close down, in my experience anyway. And so I guess that was my first understanding of the physical manifestation of illness that can be born through trauma and emotional suppression and not dealing with things. And again, as kids, you know, we create these stories and narratives in our head, and if we don't have a safe place to share those and find solutions within our parents, within our family line. And look, our family, I'm sure, do the best that they can. And my family definitely did, based on their level of consciousness and experience. You know, and I always preface this to anyone I'm working with, you know, it's unless your parents have intentionally, you know, like gone out to hurt you or abuse you or anything, then they do the best that they can. But, you know, some scary bad things happen to us when we're kids, right? And we internalize all of those. So I guess that was my first kind of, here we go. We've got a visitor. This is Angel. Hi, Angel.
She's beautiful.
She is. So I kind of managed to get myself out of that when I went to university. And then my best friend died when I was 19. And again, this is just bringing all my, it's like bringing all my psychic gifts online. It was New Year's Eve. It was Hogmanay in Scotland. It's this big festival in Edinburgh where there's like hundreds of thousands of revelers on the streets. They shut the streets down and have music and stuff. This one particular, I was 19. There's one particular New Year's Eve. For some reason, something something told me not to go. You know, all my friends were there. My friends were at uni in Edinburgh, and they were all out partying, which was just something we did every year, you know. And as a 19-year-old girl, to not go out on New Year's Eve was an unusual occurrence.
Yeah.
You know, so my parents were out doing their thing. My brother was out doing his thing. And I remember speaking to my friend on the phone before that night, and she was just saying, you know, I'm really like, I'm sorry you're not coming, but I just said I was ill. You know, that was the easiest excuse because I couldn't explain why I didn't want to come.
Yeah.
And so that was the kind of the last conversation I had was with her saying, look, you know, obviously I'm really sad that you're not coming, but like, have a good night. Hopefully you're feeling better. And I just remember, this is in my parents' house, looking out of our window before midnight struck. And we've got like a big grass area in front of my parents' house. And I just started crying, like just uncontrollable tears. And again, I didn't know why. I was just crying. And then I went to bed and I turned my phone off, which again, 19-year-old girl, I'm not turning my phone off. That is not happening. But there's just a feeling of like, I didn't want people to contact me. I didn't want to hear it. That's what was coming through. It's like, I didn't want the communication. So I stopped the communication. And again, I didn't know what actually was to occur until the next morning where the phone had rang downstairs. And I remember coming out and from my room onto the landing and listening to try and hear what my dad was saying on the other line. I just knew something had happened. I didn't know what. I actually thought it was maybe something with my gran, just, you know, an age thing. And I just remember my dad coming up the stairs and just saying Melissa died, who was my best friend. And yeah, it was just all extremely surreal, as you can imagine. But I know now that my guides were saving me from that.
Boy, were they ever.
And I had a lot of experiences of seeing her thereafter. We would love to scare each other. Like, that was our thing growing up.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have sleepovers and we'd scare all of our friends, and we thought this was the best thing ever. We loved the X-Files. We were into esoteric things. And funnily enough, my birthday is the October, and this was obviously the January. She had gone to uni in England, so I hadn't seen her on my birthday. And she'd given me my birthday present at Christmas, and it was actually tarot cards and spray stuff to help me sleep. And now, obviously, after her passing, she came to me a lot in my dreams when I was trying to go to sleep. I saw her face in the mirror. There was her face in a balloon that was in my room. I mean, so many things happened. A photo of me and her was flipped over. I mean, you couldn't write this, right?
No, you couldn't.
I'm like, okay, I know you love scaring me, but you're really, really scaring me now. So, I had to have those conversations. And, at that time at uni, I actually, there's a thing with trauma where you can't process it, and it's so connected in your brain to your short-term memory. So because I wasn't able to fully process what had happened, I would find myself having conversations and forgetting what I was saying, because there's a part of your brain that basically shuts off your short-term memory to avoid feeling pain.
Mm-hmm.
So I was still at uni, right? And I would be in the middle of having conversations with people and just blank. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening to me? And at that time I was, my intelligence was something that I was proud of. And I just felt so stupid. And that was like a big hit for me, right? So I actually went to a counselor, and he gave me a book do you know who Sylvia Browne is?
Yes.
Yeah, so American, very big in the 80s, 90s, psychic medium. She's written many, many books, very avant-garde personality. So he gave me this book around the afterlife and signs that are, signs that people that passed over show us.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember, and it just made so much sense based on everything that I would experience with my gran when I was young, and going into their room and smelling perfumes randomly as well. And I'm like, oh my God, what is that smell? And it was also my gran's perfume. So it was just kind of like a 360 moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of blocked a lot of it in my 20s, to be honest, until I had a spiritual awakening at the end of a breakdown of a relationship in 2012, where I started to understand, who I thought I was contradicting the parts of me that came out during that relationship. And I just started kind of just questioning who I was, who is this person that I really believe myself to be? And actually it's a persona, it's an ego, it's an avatar to, that we build to kind of keep us safe or to keep connection. And so I guess since 2012, I've just been on this spiritual journey of self-exploration, and it kind of just led to my own healing. So lots of weird stuff happened where I was guided to a psychic school by someone that was here and then disappeared. That's another story, which again is one of my guides who can manifest in physical form.
Yeah.
And because they needed to point me in the right direction, it's like, okay, you got to move now. You got to you had to go through all of this to kind of understand who you are. So I ended up going to a psychic school in London to start learning how to tune into my intuitive gifts. So I learned psychic mediumship, and I was doing readings and platform. Then I met an amazing past life regression therapist, and I did loads of sessions with him. And then I met someone that did Reiki, and he was teaching me how to do Reiki. And then I came over to Australia, and then again, I trained in all of these modalities. So I trained in Reiki, energy healing, my psychic stuff, theta healing, sacred sexuality, art therapy. Did I say past life regression? Oh my gosh, so many things that I'm sure I've forgotten over the last, since 2012. I've just kind of dedicated my life to it.
Yeah.
Also, I had another business that I came to Australia to open and build, and I had that for 7.5 years until the point where I knew I was meant to do something with all of my spiritual work and my experiences and my knowledge through life. And I eventually closed down my business and went into my spiritual coaching and intuitive healing work full time. And that's kind of where I am now for that lengthy explanation.
Well, it's funny, as you're talking, I mean, it happened a lot quicker for you than it did me. It took me more years to go through this, but so many of the things that you've talked about, I'm thinking, I've been there, I've done that. So going through the parallels are there. And when my best friend died, I had a best friend die when I was 10 years old. Joanne Hall. And she has since come to see me. And in 2013, my best friend David passed away. He died. And that was the hardest one for me. It really was. And because he was the closest I've ever had to a brother. Right, with me being the only child. And, but all the becoming more aware and with growing up. And it's funny because I've had people come up to me and say, so when did you know you were psychic? I don't know. I realized that I was different, but not everybody else was doing it when I was 13. But it was such a natural part of who I am and such a natural part of growing up. Now, one of the things that you were talking about that you do is past life regressions. Here
she comes again.
So how do you find... I've heard a lot of different things with tapping into past lives, that it can help sometimes a trauma from a past life we carry over into this life.
Oh gosh, it helps so many things. So many things. If
someone felt that they should get a past life regression done, and I know a lot of people that, and when I had it done the first time, it was, this is fun. But when you're doing it for a therapeutic reason, what are some of the things that you can release, like fears, things like that?
So gosh, so many things. So fears, phobias, physical ailments, any blockages or challenges that you have in your life to do with money, relationship dynamics, understanding challenging dynamics that are showing up in your life. You can also go and understand more about your soul purpose. You can reclaim soul gifts as well. So it's not just, the negative stuff. Generally, if you're going to do a regression, the more negative lifetimes will show up first, because, that's where our soul wants to clear this trauma, right? And we are here as a soul. I believe we reincarnate to learn and grow as a soul and learn different lessons, and sometimes those lessons aren't nice. Sometimes those lessons are hard, and we have to go through the duality of pain and suffering and to get to the place of love. And we can carry a lot of these things in from past lives. We are a multidimensional being, right? So to believe that the only blocks and traumas that we have are just from our childhood is not true. We have it's like, when you do your healing and something comes up and you're like, oh God, I thought I worked on that. I'm like, well, you did, but it's coming up in a different guise because we have lifetimes from not just from this planet, from other planets. We have our ancestral karma and trauma that come down our ancestral lineage too. We have things happen to us in childhood. We have social conditioning. We have collective consciousness energy. We are transmuting all of these things, and they will show up in our lives as challenges, blockages, fears, traumas. Or as I said, on the flip side, we can set an intention to reclaim. She really wants to be involved, little angel, today. And it's interesting that this is Angel, because she's all my other cats are Greek gods and goddesses. She's the only one that has an angel.
How many cats do you have?
Don't judge me, but 4.
No.
Yeah, 4. Yeah. That was not the plan, Lynn. I only had 2 brothers, and then I'm just a sucker for anything in need. So I'm like, okay, I'll rescue the girls as well. Fine.
Honestly, I can just hear my kids now. Mother, how do you 2 get along? Like right now, we're down to 1 dog because the 2 little ones died, but we're already, well, once we've got her a little bit more past the puppy stage, like it's not just going to be 1 more dog, at least 2. And God, I'd have 4. I'd have 5 or 6.
Yeah, I'm the plan is to move to get some bigger land, and then I'll have a horse, a goat, dogs. I'll have them all, because they're so beautiful, and they're unconditionally loving. Animals are just unconditionally loving, and it's such a beautiful energy. And if you are sensitive or psychic or intuitive, however you want to call it, animals are, you're naturally drawn to animals. How could you?
And they do, once they've passed on, they do come back to us in spirit.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very much. And they're very, like you say, they're very sensitive, very open.
Yeah.
To the energies around us.
And they're messengers as well. I get a lot of signs through animals. I've done shamanic work too. And like our angels give us signs and synchronicities all the times, our guides and angels. So whether that's repeating numbers on doors or license plates, or even just out in the natural world, I have certain birds here. I live in Australia now, and we have some amazing, beautiful birds that I really resonate with. The Australian black bird, the crow, the cockatoos, the magpies, they're huge. And I get a lot of messages through animals. Like they show up in my life all the time because I'm just so connected to that world. Yeah. And it's, I'll say this to anyone, it's when you start to be really present and open yourself up to that, there is so much more around us, and we're being supported all the time. We have a whole team of guides and angels. Then, you'll start to notice where you're being communicated. You're being communicated to it all the time. Yeah. So, and also, like, I believe that we also we have contracts with our animals too. In this life, we have contracts with the animals that come into our physical life. Yeah. Because we might need to experience more love, or we might need to experience companionship. But that's why, animals are like our family.
Oh, absolutely.
No different.
They really are.
Even I have a soul contract, we have a soul contract with all of our family. Animals are no different.
No. Well, this coming Saturday night, but by the time this show is aired, I will already have done this. Yeah. But they're having because the people across the road from us own a zoo, and it's maybe just a half a mile up the road from us. So you would love this art class. They're doing an art class there, and they're going to teach us how to sketch. Yeah. And at the zoo, and we'll be sketching the animals.
Oh, love it.
Oh, love it. Yes, I can't wait.
Yeah, for my sculpture class, I need a new thing to do next week. So I'm like looking at animals. I'm like, do I want to do a dragon maybe?
Oh, that would be good. I did when I took sculpting, I did a dog. Yeah. And one of the Dobermans that we had, I think it was Sammy. We got her as a puppy. And then one day, all of a sudden, she noticed this sculpture in the window. Well, boy, that was it. She thought it was another dog, and she just barked and barked and barked at it.
How big was it?
Oh, it was only about that big. Like it was But you see, we had the little Shih Tzu at the time too, so she was used to a small dog.
Okay, yeah, right.
And she was still a puppy, so she
Infused
wasn't
that with
breathing.
energy. You really must have infused that with some dog energy.
Oh, I must have.
Must have, yeah. For it to think it was real. Or you just must be a very good sculptor, one of the other.
A little bit of both, maybe.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
But it's like it's a natural talent. It's got to be something in the family.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I don't know if there were any other kind of artists or healers or psychics on my grand's line. I know my mum's line, her uncle was a very well-known painter. But yeah. Because I've tried to trace this, as you can imagine, because I do a lot with ancestral healing as well, and understanding the lineages and what comes down. So again, it could be trauma, beliefs, themes, but also gifts. So yeah, I've just been fascinated around, where these maybe come from.
My cousins, okay, so that's on your dad's side.
Yeah.
There was one who was a tattoo artist.
Well, I also tattooed, funnily enough.
Yeah. And there's his name is James. And he does beautiful leather work. He makes handmade leather jackets. Beautiful work. Beautiful work. If any of them are into the psychic, that end of things, they don't talk about it. But we're going to take a short break. But when we come back, I'll tell you about my Auntie Sheena, who would be your grand's cousin, and an experience that she had.
Oh, amazing. Exciting.
Oh, it really is. Anyway, we're just going to take a short break, and we'll be back, and some family stories and so many other things that we can learn from Gillian.
I could be here all day.
I'm Carolyn Kane, and I'm a member of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the creator of the Moccasin Identifier. Philip Cote, an artist in Toronto here, took and redrew real moccasins. We're starting over with the children. The idea is that they would research whose land their school is built on, near, or what treaty area they're in. And the educational kit that we have has all that information in there. And the children just, love it. My dream is that this province will be covered with moccasin identifiers within the next decade, and they will forever know whose land they're on. That's the goal. Educate and awareness with a nice, simple little program called the Moccasin Identifier.
I did it. I need it.
A hero gave it.
And I am alive.
As an organ donor, you can save up to 8 lives and enhance the lives of 75 others. Please go to our website. Pledge a gift of life. You'll be glad you did.
And welcome back. All right. Now, I told you that I was going to tell you a story about my Aunt Sheena, who would have been your grand's cousin. And her and my Auntie Lena, the two of them, they would set a table. They wouldn't use a Ouija board, but they would set a table, which is where they would have the numbers and the letters in a circle, and then you use the wine glass as the planchette, right?
Right.
Well, this one time, Auntie Sheena, she had lost her engagement ring. So her and Lena got onto the table that they had set to try and find out where it was. They were given an address. So they went to the address, and sure enough, the man that lived there had the ring. And what had happened, it had slipped off her finger, and my Uncle Bill like who was her fiance at the time, he had a bike, like a motorcycle.
Mhm.
And back then the style was with the men's pants, they had cuffs. Well, the ring had fallen, slipped off her finger, gone into the cuff of his pants. And then when he lifted his leg up to get on the bike, it slipped out and it fell on the road.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And
So
at the time, it was like, you don't have Facebook, right? Get in
that's
contact.
right. And there's different stories. Now, my gran, she had a brother, I think his name was George. She had a brother, George, and he died in the war.
Mm-hmm.
And as the story goes, she was standing at the sink and he came to visit her. He came to her and told her that he had died. And within a very short space in time after that, they got the telegram that he had died in action. So it's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some in the family that have kind of turned their back on me because of what I do, but that's their stuff, not mine.
Always.
And yeah, so I mean, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
The creativity, the artistic side, it's all there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. And it's actually, there are ways that you can start to, because a lot of people in families, they don't actually speak about their past, right? I look at my family and I've been the one to understand my parents, understand their past, understand their parents' past, because we were all once a child and we were all impacted by certain things.
That's right.
And yeah, most families don't do that. And it's fascinating, even with my gran that's just passed, who's my dad's mom. Yeah, I found out just through conversation and me being curious that I am, the black sheep of the family, obviously.
Yeah.
My family are very suppressive, like emotionally, much better now. But, understanding where that also comes from down the line too. And just it's fascinating to see kind of what happened to my gran and then potentially where certain themes came from that was passed down to my dad, passed down to me. And, there's always a chain breaker, right? They say if you don't heal yourself, then you'll pass it down to the next generation. And it's true. So it's the more conscious that we can become around who we are and why we are the way that we are, and then find solutions to heal that. I think it is really helpful and important to understand, where we come from an ancestral, like our lineage perspective. And one of the reasons I looked up, found you, because I'm like, I want to know more about my family and who's like me? Is there anyone?
And I mean, I can tell you stories from my sort of aunts, uncles, but even that, not all of them. Yeah. Because there's a lot of things. I was 5 when we came to Canada. So I didn't grow up really knowing any of the ones in the family. I didn't grow up knowing the cousins, the aunties, the uncles. And a lot of it was just stories that I had heard. My mom was one of 12 kids. And it was very... sort of going by what my mother was like, I would say that my gran was very strict, but I think she had to be with 12 kids.
Yeah.
And I went over there, maybe I was about 21, and I went up and I spent about 2 weeks up in Scotland, stayed at my gran's. And if I went out, I had to be back by a certain time, because if I wasn't, she would lock that front door.
Old school. That's just old school Scotland.
Oh, boy, is it ever. And but that was I mean, that is what I grew up with too, because that's what my mom knew. So that's what I grew up with. And then my dad was English. So of course I had all that stuff of the English. And I can see where, I mean, there are things that I look at and I think, yes, like this is what my mom was like. I don't want to be like that. And I have tried to make that change. And I agree with you. It's important because we pass it along.
Yeah. It's like when it's like when you start to be in a relationship with someone, right? And then you're in that love bubble and people project a perceived notion of who they are at the start, and they say it takes like 90 days for a mask to fall, right? So when you get into a relationship, it's 90 days, and then that love bubble kind of dwindles a little bit. People have responsibilities, they have bills to pay, they have stresses. And what happens when we go back into our thinking mind is that our subconscious takes over. So it's like all those subconscious things that we like learned, like breathing and driving, we can just do them automatically, right?
Yes.
So all these programs that we learned as kids actually starts to take the driver's seat of our life. So you might start to notice like, oh my God, where did that come from? Or this response or this reaction from your partner that you've never seen before. But that's because their subconscious is now driving their car, their vehicle, and they don't realize. And how many times have been in a relationship where you're going, oh my God, you're just like your dad, or oh my God, you're just like your mom. We don't see it because we're in it, but our partners and those people around us like see it very clearly. And that's a prime example of actually how we take on all of our parents' stuff. Well, and it's not just parents, it's our grandparents and possibly their grandparents.
I mean, you're still young, but I'm sure you probably noticed that, but I think you notice these things more as you get older, where you do something or you say something and all of a sudden like,
yeah, that's my mom.
Mother.
No.
You sound like my mom. And again, it's all of these learned things. And I've heard it with my kids. Nicole, a couple of times she said, oh Lord, I'm being my mother. And it's passing. And there are good things that can be passed on. But like you say, there are the traumas and the negative that we do carry that on as well.
Yeah. And I think just because I've really, done the work on myself to have this level of self-awareness, the conversations that I have with my parents now are very different. I can see all of their stuff. They came over to Australia and they were here for like 6 weeks or something. And that's probably the most amount of time that I spent with my parents in many, many years. So you see all of their things come out, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like projecting this mirror back to my parents around, Dad, that's your 5-year-old coming out. The way that you've reacted to this, it doesn't make logical sense, because this is like your hurt 5-year-old that feeling like he's never being picked or chosen. Like I can see everything that's going on with people energetically and with my parents. And I think that trip was quite eye-opening for them to spend so much time with me and to kind of start to realize why they are the way that they are, and actually why the behavior that they've had for 70 years actually isn't serving them. But it was just like defense mechanisms that they've created that worked as a kid, but actually doesn't work as an adult. And, they're just so used to being in this dynamic with each other that until there's someone external can come and see this and show them in a really loving way, because there's no judgment here. There's no judgment. We created these ways of being because we didn't want to lose connection, or, it was a form of protection and the only way that we knew how to do it. But it's just like, oh, that doesn't kind of work anymore. Like maybe there's a better way of doing it. Maybe just have a think about it. Now,
I know that you do different courses, that you teach different courses. I have done one, but because of the time difference, it was, oh God, 4:00 in the morning, I can't do this. So I had to sort of go on all the repeats, but I found that your course, it helped me a lot.
Did it?
And do you have any courses coming up?
Yes, I do. So as I said, I'm building out a new platform. So I'm actually building a membership site at the moment, which is one of my things. So I've created a community. So it's an online community. So there's a forum that people from all around the world can connect and ask questions and support each other. You know, if there's other healers and they want to practice on people, whatever it is. That's one component of it. There's another component of it that is all I've created. Like I've got a whole meditation library. I've got a healing library. I've got pre-recorded content on different things around frequency control, energy healing, past life, how to tune into your intuition. So these are resources that people can go to at any point. I also have another section within this membership where I'm going live so I have channeled messages. So I also channel. So I channel my guides. I channel different beings as well. Nikola Tesla is one. So he created electricity. I channel Venus, the planet Venus too. So there's just a lot of channeled messages that are coming through to support people as we go through this time of ascension. But also I go live in the group every month. So every month there's a Q&A. It's just an opportunity for people to get live coaching, ask me any questions. I can riff on certain topics. And then I'm also going to do a live healing session. So it could be a group healing session. So it could be energy healing. It could be past lives. It could be ancestral. It could, who knows, for the group. So that's a membership that, you know, because I think people want to really have community of like-minded people. So I've created that. I also have my one-on-one sessions too. So so I do past life readings. I do psychic readings. I do a past life regression. I can do meet your soul, like meet your guides. There's a couple of things that I'm working on, like depending on, or just healings, depending on what people want. And then, so those are my one-on-one sessions. And then with the programs, I've got a couple of things in the mix. My next one is my intuitive awareness program, where I'm teaching people how to tune into their intuition, how to connect with their soul. If they wanted to do psychic readings, then they can. How to really understand their clairs. So are they clairvoyant, clairsentient, claircognizant? You know, people are just so disconnected and always looking for the answers outside of themselves. So I just want to be able to empower people to really, how do you tune into yourself and how do you get the answers for yourself? Because it's extremely empowering, and to find their magic. Next year, I'm also launching a live program around business energetics. So, you know, everything is energy. Everything has a frequency and a vibration. And I'm really good at reading energy. And, you know, our business, if we're having blocks in our business, be that abundance or financially, or can't attract clients, it's because our DNA is in our business, and it's our blocks that are blocking, you know, our limiting beliefs, or, you know, I don't think nobody's going to buy from me, or projections or whatever. It's understanding and clearing our blocks with our business. Also, what are the energetics of our business? You know, what are the energetics of our platforms that we're using? Are they even aligned to us? And also, what is the energetics and dynamic and relationship that we have between me, like myself and my business, or you and your business? So this is great for entrepreneurs, anyone that runs their own business. And I also have, again, this is all going to be next year. There's a lot of stuff in the making for next year. My intuitive awareness program is probably going to be end of this year. But I have another program which is around spiritual self-pleasure. So it's mixing sexuality and spirituality, and how it can be a very self-loving, meditative process, but also used for manifestation. So that's also coming. So yeah, there's a few programs. And then also one that wants to be birthed through me, which I do a lot of one-on-one work with clients, is around relationships. So again, using relationships as a catalyst for healing, for self-awareness, and understanding why we attract the things that we attract, and also how to create conscious relationships. Like, how can we get better relationships?
Now,
and it all starts with ourselves.
Yeah.
So yes.
Okay. Sorry. But I want to ask you this before I forget.
Yeah.
Like I say, I know there is the time difference, but if somebody wants to get hold of you, they want to, be on the list for when your new website is up, or they do want to have some work done or take some of your courses. What is your contact information? How do they get hold of you?
Yeah, they can drop me an email at Gillian, Gillian, at Gillian Kane, Kane.com.
All right.
So yeah, just email me, or my Instagram is a great spot, which is I am Gillian Kane. Yeah, I'm hoping to have everything live in the next month. So yes.
Yeah. And it's funny because where I was saying earlier about the parallels, even that with that, I've got a friend helping me building a new website. And it will be interactive with cards, runes, creating a new set of runes, Druid runes, and because it all ties in with Hoshire. And it is about building a community. It's going to be about membership. It's going to be about sending everyone every morning. They'll get an email with a positive affirmation in it, and things like that. And we are hoping that it will be ready in about a month or so.
Amazing. Do you want to create your own oracle cards as well?
I've already done that.
Oh, amazing. Love it.
I have created my own oracle cards. I have created a small deck of cards to inspire, which I work the two of them together. I make my own pendulums. I make jewelry.
Yeah, mine here.
Yeah.
Got it right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
And what else have I done? I don't know. There's just
so many.
I
know I'm building my own oracle cards as well, and I'm building like an online shop too, where I'm going to sell my pendulums. And because I'm really impacted by EMF, which is electromagnetic frequency that comes from our phones, our like the 5G towers. I don't have a microwave, but like microwaves and all that stuff. I feel and I can see the energy very clearly. So I have like a Tesla plate, which is like a pendant, but I also use a lot of shungite. So I have different shungite products that I'm also going to have on my shop too. So yes, I'm setting up an online shop as well. And yes, also in the middle of potentially doing some oracle cards too. So we're so aligned. I love this.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's the ones I did, and all the things that I've done, it's all sort of based on Hoshire. All right.
What is that? I've never heard of it.
Hoshire. Well, you will, I hope.
Teach me something. School me, Lynn.
Okay. Hoshire exists in the magical myths of the Scottish Highlands. And when we die, our soul, the body dies. That's good. That's positive. The soul continues on to a different level, another dimension. And Hoshire is one of those dimensions that it goes to. Hoshire is inhabited by the Quibbles, the Puiters, and the Druids. Now, the Quibbles and the Druids are natural inhabitants of Hoshire. The Puiters, they were banished from their planet because there was a lot of tyranny going on. There was a tyrant that had taken over, and this little group of rebels escaped, and they landed in Hoshire. And they're all about laughter, the importance of laughter, but also forgiveness. Because if you have to forgive, well, you don't have to, but you really need to for your own being. And it's not just about forgiving those that have done wrong to you. It's forgiving yourself for allowing it to happen, for allowing them to do that, to take control in your energy. So that's basically what it's all about. And the cards, it's all my artwork.
Mm-hmm.
as an example.
Yeah, love this. Amazing.
Yeah. So that one actually is meant for you, time to move forward, because I focused on you when I pulled it.
Yeah.
So it is time for you to move forward. And any problems that are around you, there's going to be some being brought to the surface, but they have to, right? So that you can deal with them. And it's that getting rid of the old and making room for the new and the positive. But basically, that's what Hoshire is about. And of course, it went through its lessons, and there's all kinds of stuff that goes with it. But when I told you I was going to send you that little video clip,
yes,
is an introduction to Hoshire.
Oh yes,
yes. So it's even done with a Scottish accent. How's that?
I love that. Are you doing it?
No.
Okay.
A friend of mine did it for me, and it's all done with AI.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. How they're bringing.
She typed in a male voice with a Scottish accent. And that's what we got. Like, it's amazing what can be done.
Yeah. I was speaking about that the other day of like, how to bring AI into like an intuitive business. And I'm like, is there a place for it? But things like this, on the website or something, potentially, yes. But in the work, no, because it's all intuitive, right?
That's it. It has to be intuitive. But when you're doing things like websites, and even with designing things, yes, AI it's a useful tool.
Sure. No, exactly. It is. Even I design my own things, but I still use Canva as well, which is you do things on that. So yeah, it's just finding that nice balance, right, between the old and the new. Like I love technology, obviously, but it's where's that balance of
See, I struggle with technology. I try, but see, I didn't grow up with it.
Yeah, and that was the industry I was in previously, so
when I was in high school, we had manual typewriters.
And it's also amazing that, like, you are doing what you're doing because, like you said, there is a generational piece here, right? Where back in the day, this stuff wasn't spoken about, or it's hidden, but we live in a world now where we have the internet, we have access to more information than we've ever had before at like lightning speed. So it's in everyone's faces.
Yeah. When I mentioned to my mom things that I was seeing.
Yeah.
This was when I was 13. And I mentioned it to her because it was all of a sudden it was like, well, how come other people don't see this stuff? How come they don't see people like I do? And I mentioned it to my mom, and I was told straight off, you do not talk about it. That's enough. It's nonsense. And if people hear you talking about it, then you will end up you'll have to go to a psychiatrist.
Wow. Look at that programming.
So I shut right down for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And it scared me. I'll be very honest. It did. Yeah. And it just, I didn't understand it. I didn't know what it was about. And it's one of the reasons that I actually created this show, was to help people understand, to learn all the different areas in this field and what it's about, so that they don't, if they go onto the wrong track, well, that's always choice, but at least they have an understanding of what it's about, that it isn't anything to be afraid of, but at the same time, it is something to respect.
Discernment, so key.
Yeah, very, very much. And there's been a lot of changes over the years, and it's a good thing. It really is. It's a good thing.
I think now is the time where people are seeking this information. People are waking up on a grand scale, so they need us. People need, and we had to go through the experiences that we've been through because you know, we were both afraid to open up our gifts. You know, I had so many fears and blocks around it that I've cleared out. I have the witch wound. I had past lives of being killed for my gifts and speaking my truth, and like all of that is present within people. So it's like, how can we really support them and help them to connect to their true self? Because that is their intuition.
Yeah. Well, I was told at one point, and this is many years ago, that I was burned at the stake. I was burned as a witch.
You are?
One of the people in that lifetime that was all part and part of me being burned at the stake was actually my mother in this lifetime.
Yes, that's what happens. Yeah. You find in past lives, we reincarnate with our soul family, and we play. Just think of like our lives as a play, a theater, and we play different roles. We play different characters. So as a soul, we just look at it from a big picture. Okay, what do you want to learn, and how can we interact with each other to make that happen? It's only when we get to like our humanness that we're like, why the hell would I ever pick to do that to someone? But it's not like that as a soul. So yeah, so you'll find I've had so many past lives where, you know, my friends or people have done really, really horrible things to me, and vice versa. You know, I've done horrible things to other people too in past lives, because that was our soul agreement, because we wanted to learn certain lessons and we wanted to evolve and grow. And, you know, and we've been doing that through polarity. We've been doing that through duality for a very long time now. Like, I do think we're getting to a point where the more people that are ascending, the more people that are healing and becoming and releasing all of this low vibration density that we've been carrying. Yeah.
I have to cut you off.
Oh, that's okay.
I could talk forever on this stuff, but we are at the end of the show. And I would like to thank you very, very much for being a guest. It has been wonderful having you on. I've really enjoyed it. I want to have you back again.
I'd love to come back.
Yeah.
We could talk for days, Lynn.
Oh, I know we could.
It's a problem.
Anyway, until next time, remember, keep laughter in your heart, because it really is life's best medicine.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Call the Rogers TV Viewer Response Line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
Online betting is booming. Booyah! Woo! Oh yeah! You could win big! But you could also lose. There is risk with online gambling, and that's a reality nobody's shouting about. Learn about safer play at knowtherisks.ca.
My name is Miles Morales, and I'm Brooklyn's one and only Spider-Man.
Miles! Want to get out of here?
So wait a minute. There's an elite crew with all the best spider people in it? I'm Spider-Man.
Oh, no way. All of us are.
Being Spider-Man is a sacrifice.
You know, you're the only Spider-Man who isn't funny. We're supposed to be funny.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Rent it now.